Liane Teplitsky, CEO of Artedrone. Thank you so much for joining us on the future of MedTech opportunities.
It is my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So we're going to talk about access to stroke treatment. As having my grandfather and my father both have strokes, it is personal, it is upsetting, but to know that there are innovators like yourself who are helping to solve that problem is what wakes me up in the morning and have that hope. So let's talk about access to stroke, but let's start with what brought your interest into access to stroke treatment?
Yeah, so I've spent 25 years MedTech, med device. I'm an electrical engineer, biomedical engineer by trade, but decided I really, wanted to leverage that skill set to treat patients, right? To help. And so exactly like what you said, everyone knows someone that had a stroke. So I've spent my career doing cardiovascular med tech and orthopedics and looking at, robotics and digital health in particular in my last role. And I had the opportunity with this company called Artedrone to look at a very cool technology that they were using for stroke treatment. So honestly, I didn't really understand how poor the access was until I started kind of looking into this particular company. And what they were doing seemed super cool. And it's like, okay, that's great. But is there really a big problem? You know what? I thought that you can just, if you had a stroke, lots of people know kind of that FAST protocol, what you're supposed to do. You call 911, you go to the emergency room, and you would get treated. That is not what happens. It's crazy. So you can get treated through thrombolysis in most of those centers. That's kind of what happens. But a very large percent of the population has a large vessel occlusion stroke. So I have 11 million patients that have strokes every year. A large percentage have large vessel occlusion strokes. Less than 5% of the population that could have access to mechanical thrombectomy, which is the current treatment standard of care, less than 5% of the population actually gets it. And so it's crazy. That's global. So here in the US, as an example, there's over 1,600 centers. If you have a heart attack, I thought it was about the same, right? So have a heart attack, you go in, you get treated, you have PCI. Those 1,600 centers is about what we have in the US. There's less than 300 centers in the US that can give you mechanical thrombectomy treatment today. And so depending on where you are in big trouble. So you can go to this emergency center, you have to get shipped off somewhere else if there's one nearby. Otherwise, stroke today is the second leading cause of death and third leading cause of disability worldwide. And so that access, it gives me shivers even thinking about it. It is so tragic that so many people that could benefit from stroke treatment don't have access to it today.
Well, why is that? Why is there such lack of access? Like, I understand, I've just learned that there's subsets of stroke. Why is this such a problem?
Well, it's just the lack of those facilities that are able to deliver the care and the lack of the hands and experts, the interventional neuroradiologists that can perform that care. You can imagine going into your brain. It's not very simple. It's a very long process to be able to be trained to do that. And it's an emergency procedure. So, even getting the training and getting people up to speed takes a long time. You can't stack cases like you would, these big centers that have a lot of TAVI cases, for example. You can kind of line those up. You can get your training really quickly. The same thing is much more difficult for stroke in general. So we just don't have the number of people and the number of centers that are able to perform this, like I said, life-saving, life-changing procedure of mechanical thrombectomy.
I also get shivers. That's pretty surprising. Have we made any technical advancements up to today that has helped at least move the needle forward to trying to solve that problem, to access to stroke treatment?
Well, first of all, mechanical thrombectomy in general is quite new. It's sort of only a decade in the making. So it's having the catheters and the tools available to go in, access where that clot is in your brain, and be able to pull it back out. And there was a rapid rise of that capability for, about 5 or so years when people were learning it, they got on board and they got to do it. And great, right? Great for patients all around. But it's starting to plateau now because there just, again, aren't enough operators. So we know that the tools work. Now, there are some additional advances because we know that the tools work. There's a lot of people investing time and energy to make those catheters better and easier to use. So hopefully in time, we can train people more quickly and more easily. In addition, there's a lot of companies working on robotic solutions to be able to handle those catheters in those centers and maneuver them. So even as the catheters get better and the robotic technology gets better, those could be paired together to have these experts to continue to be able to provide access and perform these procedures.
So tell me more about the robotic element.
So today there are, like I said, there's a lot of startup companies out there that are working on this robotic technology. Most of them are sort of telerobotics. So, having the INR in a different place. So again, I said access is challenging, obviously. So if now you can put, a remote robotic technology where the interventional neuroradiologist can still control what's going on within those cases that may be from far away, great. That, however, still you need the INR, and they can still be a bottleneck. So that's where Artedrone comes in. And so we are looking at developing an autonomous microrobotic solution that can be used not only by the interventional neuroradiologist, which of course, if they want to use it, fantastic. But the idea is to go to these level 2 stroke centers or maybe even cardiac care centers in the future and have an interventional cardiologist or interventional radiologist anyone, essentially a physician interventionalist that can access the carotid artery, which many can. So, at least 5-fold, 10-fold more of those kinds of physicians exist in the INRs today. And we want to give them access. So if they can get to the carotid artery with a delivery catheter, we have an autonomous micro robot that really essentially you push go. Lots of work to be done to make this perfect, but you push go and the little micro robot can figure out where to go. We've got take a digital twin of the patient. We create a GPS roadmap of where it needs to go. The little robot is pushed. It's a magnetofluidic robot. So it's pushed by the blood flow. And then we have an external magnet that comes in. It steers the tip of the catheter. It gets to the clot. It turns on suction, the same as today in mechanical thrombectomy. You have an aspiration catheter or a stent retriever that does it manually. Here we turn on the suction and then you kind of reel in that clot like a fishing rod. So it's really, this is where I said the technology was so compelling when I was looking at it. And I really, believe in my heart that this is going to, help millions of stroke patients over time because it will truly be able to give access in places that it doesn't have it today.
What stage are we in? Is it, have you done clinical trials? Catch us up.
We're not quite there yet. We're preclinical, but we've got our proof of concept locked in and we've had very successful preclinical trials to date. So, we'll be looking at first in human in the next 12 to 18 months, which is super exciting.
So exciting.
But it's working, right? So they made this concept video 5 years ago and it was, you look at it and go, yeah, right. And the team did it. It's been really impressive to see what they've been able to do over the last few years. And, again, everyone's heart's in it. The mission of the company is to give the best chance to every stroke patient. And so that's really what we're trying to do.
If everything goes well, and we have to be very careful with how we say that. Mm-hmm. So let's say everything goes well. Your first in human goes well. You get to market. Everybody's happy. It's exactly how it should be. What impact can that have on access to stroke treatment?
So, the dream is to get one of these systems in all of the level 2 stroke centers and all of those cardiac care centers, those 1,600 places where you go for a PCI. So we have the same access as you'd have for a heart attack. You now have access to the best possible stroke treatment as well, giving the best chance to every stroke patient.
So last thought, if you were to look into the far future from now, and no holds barred, your most hopeful expectation of what the industry could do for access to stroke treatment, what could that look like?
Everyone that has a stroke has that best chance that you don't end up as now the second leading cause of death and the third leading cause of disability. Those two metrics kind of go away and you see you have a stroke, you'll be fine. It'll be okay.
Boy, I would have really loved to hear that over the last few years. I think so many other people would love to hear that. And I think that's why it's so exciting to do the Future of MedTech opportunities, because we need to be inspired and we need to see this hope that we can chase because it comes true. Your concept video 5 years ago was just a concept and you're here today. Congratulations. And Liane Teplitsky, thank you so much for joining us on FOMO. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.